Hey folks, Jimmy here, aka Pilot of the Dead. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to the latest issue of Warhammer 40k Imperium magazine. Now, as per usual with all these videos, if you like them, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and of course, drop me a comment down below. I love hearing back from you guys, and it goes a massive way to helping out the channel too. Now, this week we're on issue 88 of Imperium magazine, and we have our third and final part to our Redemptor Dreadnought. So, for Redemptor Dreadnought, 3 sprues, 1 large circular base. Not gonna lie, you're gonna want to do some really nice base decoration for this kit as well, to make him stand out and make him look really cool. But otherwise, a super cool kit to have. Genuinely one of the better Space Marine units in my opinion. I prefer to have Dreadnoughts over the Outrider bikes any day of the week, but otherwise a really cool kit, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to finally getting going with it, because obviously having the other 2 parts, I didn't want to get started without having the third one and having to stop. So really good stuff. Anyway, into this week's issue, we are greeted first off by a hero, Arjak Rockfist, the Anvil of Fenris. The chosen champion of Logan Grimnar, Arjak Rockfist is one of the mightiest warriors in the galaxy, colossal even by the standards of the Adeptus Astartes. His raw strength is matched only by his loyalty to Chapter and Chapter Master. So, Arjak Rockfist is renowned as a giant even among Space Marines. Taller and broader than even Logan Grimnar, he served as an Iron Priest of the Chapter until he and several of his brothers were assailed by Fenrisian Kraken spawn. When Logan Grimnar arrived to aid the priest, only Arjak remained alive, smashing through the beast with his thunder hammer. So, obviously this feat of prowess convinced good old Grimnar that Arjak wasn't really designed to be a priest, and should really be out there fighting the good fight and smashing the hell out of the enemy. So really cool stuff, and another one that I must admit I've never heard of, but it's an interesting little kind of deep dive into the history, which is always nice. Moving on, we get Harald Deathwolf. So Harald Deathwolf is the Lord of the Death Wolves and the greatest hunter in the Chapter. It is said that his senses are so keen that he can smell fear. His great company includes the host of wolf beasts, both cybernetic and organic. The largest of these beasts serve as steeds for Harald and his company's elite. So, obviously, with the Space Wolves, there's a lot of kind of hints to Nordic lore and history and stuff like that. So there's a lot of wolves, there's a lot of Viking style stuff, and obviously they like to use axes. So yeah, really cool stuff, and it's quite interesting to see as well. So yeah, another hero I must admit I never heard of, and I'm glad to now have finally heard of him, because that's a pretty cool little story behind him. So really nice stuff. Then we move forward, we get more information about one of the other factions from the 41st millennium, the Tyranids. They are weapons of the Swarm. So, the weapons born by Tyranid creatures are no simple constructs. Each is a symbiotic bioform evolved specifically for the task at hand. These weapons are no less effective than the technological instruments of destruction wielded by other races in the galaxy. So, if you are unaware of how Tyranids work, over a long period of time they have mutated depending on the DNA they are consuming, and they can some kind of hives have purposely spec'd into certain things, for instance. So for instance, some of them kind of work towards being ranged, so they have guns and stuff like that. Some of them have big massive cannons that are part of their body and hidden under their carapace. Some of them are just deadly horrible ripping things that will like to rip the shreds out of anybody and everybody. And obviously you get a bit more information about their different kind of weapons. So there are flesh borers, devourers, spine fists, rending claws, bone swords, scything talons, and many more things that just show how dangerous and deadly Tyranids are, which is why they are part of the 10th edition and also the other major faction from the 10th edition, which will be really, really cool. And yeah, I must admit, I'm kind of like looking forward to 10th edition, and we'll have a video on that at some point. But anyway, moving on. We get more information obviously about one of the Warzones, Obelisk and Lyrak, Phase 5. So, the renegade titans of the Legio Morbidus spearheaded the final assault on the Fabricator General Kleng's Macro Sanctum. So, battering down its energy shields and forcing a breach in its defences, through with which Typhus, Death Guard Elite, mounted aboard the armoured transports of the Second Plague Company, surged. So, obviously, Obelisk and Lyrak are a major war that's kind of carrying on, and there are many, many fronts to this war, and however, it's not going everybody's way, and there's a lot of give and take, and obviously, yeah, bit of interesting, a bit of information for you. So if you want to learn more about the wars in the 41st millennium, then these pages are definitely for you. So quite interesting, bit different, and yeah, not bad. Then we move forward. We have a nice story as well. So a Space Marine serves for life and is only granted release from his duties by honourable death in combat. Those wounded or crippled beyond the ability to serve are granted a swift death, or, should they be judged heroic enough, entombed within the body of a dreadnought. So, this story revolving around a dreadnought. Obviously, if you're unaware, the dreadnoughts, how they work is that the sarcophagus, which is the centre mass of a dreadnought, contains a severely injured, dying Space Marine who is kind of living on within the dreadnought. And yeah, weird way of doing things, but you know, a bit different and quite cool at the same time. This story goes on a little bit as well, so there are some bits of lore in here as well. Wrote some really nice artwork as well, which I must admit, they're really, really nice. And so yeah, some of the dreadnoughts have obviously different names because they are Space Marines, so they are were at one point human. So pretty cool stuff. Then we get more information about one of the other war zones. This is Terra. So even the seemingly impregnable bastion that is Holy Terra is not immune to the alien menace. Deep beneath the sprawling spires of humanity's cradle, mutant gene-stealer cultists rise up in rebellion. So, if you're unaware, the gene-stealer cultists are kind of humans that have stolen genes from alien races, mutated themselves. Some of them have 3 arms, some of them have just weird looking limbs, some of them run like on all fours, and they have very tight links and can be used as an ally for Tyranids and stuff like that. So it's a little bit different, a little bit interesting, but yeah, pretty cool stuff. And obviously Terra, you'd think there's no armies in there and there's not going to be any fights, but obviously there is, because we wouldn't have this page otherwise. Then moving forward, we have our paint guide for the week. So if you're following the magazine, this is fairly straightforward. You're kind of going to be used to this type of stuff by now, so you should be able to, you know, paint it very, very easily and have absolutely no problem at all. But otherwise, it's a pretty decent paint scheme. Looks quite nice. Will do you just well. Not bad at all. But otherwise, once it's all done, and if you've done sub-assemblies, which I highly recommend doing, when you're all put together, you're going to look something like that. Now, if you're lucky enough, or if you want to, you can obviously get transfers sheets for Space Marines. It's always worth looking them up if you want to have a try of it with waterslide decals. Entirely up to you. I must admit, it looks a bit bland without them. So if you can get some decals on there or anything like that, so whether it's just the Ultramarine logo or anything like that, or if you really feel confident about it, you could always freehand paint on there. Entirely up to you, but it will look far better than that if you have some stuff slapped across it, or even some breaks in the colour. So for instance, the knee pads, I personally won't be doing the same colour as the rest of the body, and there'll be a few other bits and pieces because I went from a Sons of Medusa paint scheme instead. So yeah, it's up to you how you want to go about doing it, but it will look better if you break up the paint with either decals or with some slightly different colour variations, in my opinion. Now we have our campaign for the week. So obviously the campaign's still carrying on, and we have our mission, the Emperor Protects, 75 power for each side. Entirely up to you how you want to field it, who you want to have fielding it. The 5 objectives on the board. Have fun with it. Obviously, you know, get victory points for controlling, and you get victory points for slaying enemies. So definitely worth keeping up on. But yeah, really good piece. And then moving on. So 2 issues remaining. We have Lord Inquisitor Draxus, which is a pretty cool unit to have, carrying that weird dragon wyvern thing, and obviously an Eldari weapon, which is quite interesting. And then in issue 90, Illuminor Xerus, finishing off the collection from the Necron range. A really cool unit, a really nice looking unit, probably the best looking Necron that you can get out there. And yeah, looking forward to getting both because they're cool. But otherwise, thank you very, very much for watching, and I will see you sometime in the near future. Bye bye now.